Guys, what do we think about Ajaniah's introduction here?
I know there may be a lot to critique, because yeah, the more you have, the more you have to critique. So yeah,
Very impressive for you to include a quotation from the philosopher. Um, yes, grammatically not too bad. I am seeing good transitional phrases being used correctly. And as I said, I am going to now look at the essay, not for grammatic now, but for the essence of answering the question.
You like the quote from the philosophy? I think that that quote is majestic, and you like the vocabulary. I like the vocabulary as well. Nice linking, has all the parts, but a bit wordy. Good start. Overall, positive reviews so far from the chat. Those on stream. And anything else to say
Sir,
about
I
this
will, I
intro?
will, I will, I will add a comment.
Yes, Krishna, come in.
Sir, based on this introduction, sir, you can tell that he has a vast sense of vocabulary, sir. And like, I think it's a solid introduction. And even though it's long, I think he did he did have all the points that you're supposed to have in an introduction, and his hook was very good. Like, I would actually be intrigued into reading this if I saw this somewhere. But overall, if it was shorter, I think it'd be a really good introduction.
So let me just highlight the hook here. For those in the chat looking for the hook, that would be everything from the beginning to here. This wonderful quote from the philosopher. Remember when we talked about hooks, we said in general, you're gonna be choosing from rhetorical question, quotation, or like a very, very strong statement related to the topic. And Ajaniah chose a quotation that includes a very strong statement. So very, very good choice. Look at the vocabulary, guys. I want you to focus on using, sprinkling in some advanced language in your essays, because you really want to show CXC that you know words, right? You're not in primary school. Look at these words: crucial, era, harnessed, births, myriad. So we have a couple of prominent, a couple of interesting words even in the intro, showcasing that the student, would have a good vocabulary range, as Krishna mentioned. It's a bit of a lengthy intro, and we're lacking indentations here, which we should not be lacking. I'm not sure if you meant to indent, but it's not indented enough. It start a little bit off from the margin, around about here.
And it
And
is vitally important, Ajaniah, when you are writing on your CSEC exam papers, do not go outside of those borders. It's
uh,
very important. So that right border that you have, where benefits and may write, you do not write over that.
your essay will be scanned and marked. You don't want your wonderful words to be cut off because you didn't stay within the lines, right? So just keep it within the lines. It's better to go to the next line than to, like the word benefits here could definitely be written down here instead. It would have been a safer choice. Yeah. All right. In terms of the structure of the intro, the hook so far is really good. We have a nice quotation from a nice source using nice vocabulary. What more can we ask for? I would make this a simpler sentence, a shorter sentence. While social media, like anything, can have drawbacks, if used well, it possesses a plethora of benefits, right? Something like that would give you the same idea, but because the sentence is a little bit shorter and a little bit less complex, the idea just flows more clearly, right? So complex sentences can be impressive, but especially in the intro, let's keep it a little bit simpler, because the main aim of the intro is to make it clear what our essay is getting into, right? So I would do a little bit of adjustment there to simplify the sentence structure, or maybe break it up into two sentences if needed. We start with the hook up here, right? We have the hook, that nice quotation. Then we have this sentence in the middle that is a little shaky. Then we have the stance here, stance or thesis. And then we have the 3 points that's going to be discussed. 3 points would be from here. Social media broadens the sphere of information available to students for academic research, fosters connectivity around the world, and enhances the efficiency and productivity of young people in education. So these would be the three elements that we need to see in the intro. So this is the intro. Now we're expecting to see three body paragraphs, one dealing with broadening the sphere of information, one dealing with connectivity, and one dealing with efficiency, right? So let's see. All right, run your first paragraph, Ajaniah.
Okay, let's go. In the era of social media, it is particularly easier to access information thanks to YouTube. Moreover, social media facilitates the onerous task of academic research by providing a myriad of high quality responses to academic questions from professionals. A study conducted in 2020 demonstrated that students of the 21st century are more informed than those of the latter centuries. They attribute this increasing knowledge to the disposal of information on social media sites.
All right, here comes a crisp, clear paragraph. What do we think about how this point is dealt with? Access to information.
Okay. Firstly, I find uh, I find it's short. I try to make it as short as possible because time, being strapped for time and all that. I didn't want to go overboard with it. I like my little example of the study, and it's a fair study. It's a study that you can probably actually find because there in this era there's really people that are more informed, and because of social media. And so I find it was a very relevant implementation of a source, like, so to show that what I'm saying is credible. And yeah, I find I used a varied amount of words. So yeah.
All right, we're seeing positive comments, especially about your vocabulary in the chat. So that's good.
For the first paragraph, I am thinking that the point is very good. In the era of social media, it is particularly easier to access information. Excellent. However, Ajaniah, um, thanks to YouTube, I think you should have at least added another social media platform where you get
That's a
information.
good point. That's a good point.
So
That's a good point
thanks to
because in
YouTube,
my
YouTube is.
okay, continue.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was saying that's a good point because originally I intended to add a TikTok and WhatsApp, but I thought that YouTube is where I want to focus on, so I'm just gonna mention YouTube. But I did think of that. I did think of that.
If you wanted to focus on YouTube, you could have made mention of probably saying that YouTube is one of the major social media platforms, but in giving examples, you could have just given more than one, so that the marker is cognizant of the fact that you know that there are other platforms other than YouTube. All right. Excellent transition. Moreover, social media facilitates the enormous task of academic research. Here, um, this is excellent because you're not just moving into um, videos and games and informational structures, but you're moving into academia.
So I guess the main critique so far is you mentioned YouTube, but it would be A bit stronger if you mention one or two more information based social media. So it's clear that there's a whole list of them. Maybe in particular YouTube, but it's not just YouTube. There are more I could discuss if I wanted to. I don't know if the word particularly is even necessary here. Moreover, nice transition going into an additional point. Social media facilitates. That's a nice piece of vocabulary, guys. I want you to take note of some of these words, right? Some of these words are pretty useful. Social media facilitates the onerous, kind of difficult, kind of a task that weighs on your mind. The onerous task of academic research by providing a myriad, yeah, we could change this to a simpler word like, since we used myriad earlier, like range, providing a range of high quality responses to academic questions from professionals. And then we move on to a piece of evidence, right? What do we think about the piece of evidence used? I might just throw in a nice fancy name that sounds realistic just to add a bit more credibility. It's not a must, but I think that would add a little bit more substance to the evidence. When you can tell me who said it, when they said it, and why they are important, then I tend to believe, wow, that's a good piece of evidence. Right? So that's just a way to bolster your evidence if you think your evidence could use a little bit more weight, a little bit more support.
Just a quick comment. I I appreciate the fact that I did not just leave that study vague, because just saying that there is an increase in information or people are more informed doesn't really go with the topic I'm trying to bring across, the point I'm trying to show. That's why I like the way that I say that this increase in knowledge is attributed to social
Yeah.
media. So I'm connecting it back to social media. So
Yeah.
But here though, Ajaniah, you have to realize that um grammatically you have the attribute. It should be attributed this increase in knowledge, and the E is missing from knowledge there, to the disposal of information on social media sites. I accept what you said, but I'm also making the correction. So it's the attributed because it's past, which is conducted. So we follow that with the same tense form.
Nice. Nice. Tense consistency. Even though you could argue that they currently attribute it, the fact that they conducted the research, you might want to continue that idea. They conducted this and they attributed that. They did this, they found that. Right? So just keeping that tense in past, since you're still talking about that particular thing that they did, would be a little bit more consistent. Yeah. Yeah. And missing ease, Ajaniah, come on. No missing ease.
yeah, that's a silly mistake. Yeah,
Yeah.
and while I
And
was going through my
mhm.
essay, I'm seeing more missing e's. That's not the only one.
Oh man, oh man. All right. And yeah, I
Well,
you
so the
mentioned,
Ajaniah, that would be marked as part of your grammar. So it's not as if they're going to mark you every time they see the missing E, but it will factor into the range when they're marking.
if you have like one or two errors like this where you just leave off an E or something, it might not affect you. But if you have a number of these kind of adding up over the course of the essay, I'm missing E here, I'm missing G there, something spelled incorrectly there, then if that starts to pile up, it might be an issue in terms of your grade. But you don't want more than one or two of these silly errors, because then it becomes a question of, is it that the student can't spell simple words? You don't want the marker asking themselves that question, right? So
Yeah,
like this one missing E, I don't think would be a massive deal. But if this happens a couple of times, then it might start
yeah,
to throw up a red flag, since it's
yeah,
on the mark scheme that
yeah.
and that part of the expression. And I like that you bring in the evidence and then you give us the application or the implication of the evidence. That is very important. So they attributed this increase to blah blah blah. So you give us the evidence, but then, as you mentioned, instead of just leaving the evidence to hang, you tell us what the evidence means in the context of the essay, which is very good. That's how we should treat evidence, right? All right. So far, so good. Anything else before we jump to the next paragraph? No. All right. Ajna, you're still in the hot seat. Run your third paragraph for us, please.
I think okay, let's go. Moreover, social media engenders connectivity around the world. Before, okay, I know I'm gonna get some critics there. Anyways, let me start over. Moreover, social media engenders connectivity around the world. Before the era of social media, it proved rather difficult to connect with people around the world and to know what was going on in different countries. However, with the recent implementation of social media, there is an augmentation of awareness of things happening around the world. For example, the dispersion of information via social media has enabled a lot of young people to become aware of the COVID pandemic before it struck the island.
Okay, sorry, I had a bit of it cut off there. All right. So, what do we think about this? And Miss Lindsay is giving us a nice little acronym that we can keep in mind. Point, evidence, point, explanation, example, PEE. If we follow this, then we make sure that each body paragraph is doing something on its own.
All right, so here I am coming now to you, Ajaniah. You have been using transitive, transitive words and phrases quite well. However, I don't think that moreover should be the word that you use here. And it's not about him using it again, although he is using it again. But I think the effect. So you can say additionally.
We might be asking, so what is the difference between moreover and additionally? Don't they both do the same thing? Not exactly. They're both used to add something, but we want to use moreover when we're kind of adding within the same point. So guess what? Social media. So you're in the same paragraph. You add a point, and you want to strengthen that by adding another supporting point. But when you're moving to like a separate point entirely, a new paragraph, additionally or in addition might give a clear distinction moving from one point to the next. And especially since moreover was used um, previously somewhere up here, using additionally, it doesn't hurt in terms of the vocabulary range. So it's not a massive critique, the moreover versus additionally, but additionally is just a little bit more fitting, just a little bit more fitting. Moreover, social media engenders connectivity around the world. Before the era is a nice word, but I think I've seen it once or twice so far in this essay. Before the era of social media, it proved rather difficult. Ooh, that's a nice phrasing. It proved rather difficult instead of just saying it was difficult. It proved rather difficult to connect with people around the world and to know what was going on in different countries. To know what was going on, know what was going, I guess you need
Sounds
on.
a little bit colloquial, sounds a
A
little bit
little bit colloquial. Yeah.
informal,
Yeah.
a little bit informal.
All
Okay.
right. Run your
Um,
final essay, Ajaniah, your final paragraph.
I think this paragraph is the funniest paragraph out there. Okay. Lastly, social media enhances the efficiency and productivity of students. YouTube provides an avenue to which I can go to comprehend a specific topic instead of trying to understand my mundane, incompetent teachers, said Adam Webb, a fifth former. Decidedly, it is without a doubt
Yikes.
that when students encounter difficulty in their learning, social media social media sites such as YouTube help them. 85% of teachers resort to YouTube videos to elucidate their topics to students,
Mm.
stated the American Educational Institute in an article entitled How Social Media Has Facilitated Learning.
Oh man, I like this paragraph not because my name is mentioned. In fact, are you trying to incriminate me? What are you talking about? But yeah, I think the use of evidence here is even better than the use of evidence. Not to say it wasn't good earlier, but I think it's even um, more effective how you use evidence. You have a quotation here, kind of a little anecdote telling me one student's experience, right? YouTube has a capital T in the middle of the word, even though it's weird. YouTube provides an avenue to which the wording is a little weird. YouTube provides an avenue through which I can comprehend, blah, blah, blah. That's a little less awkward as compared to YouTube provides an avenue to which, because an avenue to, you cannot go through, not to an avenue, right? I can comprehend a specific topic instead. So yeah, the use of quotation here is a way in which we can um, bring about some qualitative evidence to balance out the use of statistics that we've been seeing, which is good. And the person who says it is relevant to the topic because you're talking about a former a student. So that makes sense. Decidedly, nice transition that really it doesn't go to another point necessarily, but what it does it adds emphasis to what you're saying. It adds some amount of um force to the persuasion. You know what I'm saying is definitely a fact because of all the evidence I've brought to the table. I like how the evidence is used, but I think you're focused on YouTube quite a bit. So focusing on another social media platform as well could be could be a way to diversify the points.
But I have a
Um,
question though, Adam. My
yes,
question
yes,
is
yes.
based on the evidence that he is positing here. I am trying to see if it is clearly explained how the enhancement of efficiency and productivity of students are carried out in these examples. I
Hmm.
can understand YouTube provides an avenue to which I can go to comprehend a specific topic instead of trying to understand. I can I can get all of that. But for me, it might fall a little bit short in terms of the quote does not fully explain how the student becomes efficient. That's just my take on it. All right. So we're talking
Well,
about the productivity
I
and efficiency. So while the point, and this is very important, Ajaniah, because you have made your point, but remember, when you make your point according to the piece structure, you are to explain the point and give the example. So the example is there, but I don't think you have fully explained what you mean by productivity and
well,
efficiency.
well, what I had was to I tried to explain it by saying decidedly, and the way it is productive, I could probably include the word productive to make it clear, to make the link. But what I did was to show that if a student is encountering difficulty, that they can go to YouTube. So that basically so the productivity of learning is better, because if you just rely on your teachers, you're not that productive. But if you have somewhere else to go to, you can be more productive.
I fully understand what you want to say, but I am telling you that what you want to say and what is on the paper are not connecting. I know what you want to say. I understand what you're trying to say, but what you're trying to say is just not on the paper. That's what I want to bring across to you. And sometimes that is the way students lose mark because they have not fully supported or developed their points to earn the full marks. And you will be wondering, why did I not get the mark for this? Because you have stated your mark, you have made your point, but it's a development that is lacking. So I do, as a teacher, I understand your language, I know what you're trying to say. But what I'm saying here, all right, you see that quotation that you made from Adam Webb? If that quotation had continued to say something like, there henceforth after researching, I am able to complete tasks I am able to write more efficiently, then you would have finished the point. You understand what I'm saying to you now? But just stopping it there, even the decidedly and coming down, it does not fully answer the efficiency and productivity of a student. That is your main
Yeah.
point.
I think an easy way to fix that is when you say here, sites such as YouTube may help them. All you need to do is tell me, help them how.
Exactly.
How is YouTube gonna help them? We get that YouTube is
Right.
helping people. We see the evidence, but how am I being helped? Help them by providing an audio visual experience in learning, or by um, reiterating points that were previously unclear in face-to-face lessons. So how is it helping?
So if you are going into social media, you're talking about YouTube and so forth, then you can say based on the videos and so forth, you are able to now implement the information more efficiently, effectively in your writing to take you from one stage to another, something like that.
Yeah.
Sir, I think that he could have, okay, like it was good. It's just the only thing that I would like suggest is that instead of focusing on the YouTube alone, like you said, there are other platforms that content creators, specifically for educational purposes, use, right? So let's say Instagram and TikTok. So each paragraph, right, let's say three paragraphs, each one could focus on one specific platform and state a point how that platform is used by whomever or whatever, right? Like say on Instagram, there are reels and teachers post things to keep you focused and not distracted and stuff like that. And you could talk about TikTok, about how there are people like Kerwin Springer and give examples of how students take 15-second videos to use for educational purposes when they come back from school or they're bored or something like that. And so I think that's another way you could improve the essay by utilizing three main top platforms that everyone like knows about and giving a great, a stronger example for each. That was the only thing I would suggest really about the entire body.
Excellent point, as echoed in the chat. It sounds a little bit more like an essay about how YouTube benefits us than how social media benefits us. So if you expand a little bit more, and just mention even one other example, if not two, then your essay sounds a bit more, uh it sounds like you have a range of evidences, rather than, okay, this social media platform is excellent, so I'm going to talk about it for 3 paragraphs. If you mention others, then it sounds as if you have a range of ideas that you're able to bring forward. So yeah, excellent point there. In terms of evidence, I think this paragraph is really good. Quotation there, and then we have another quotation with some statistics, and we see who is stating this piece of evidence. It's a very credible source based on the name, the American Educational Institute, in an article entitled blah blah blah. So we have multiple layers of credibility. This particular institution, which is credible, said this thing, which is in quotes, and you can find it in this article, which seems credible, and what they said is something specific.
And I do like
85%.
the idea, Adam, that he ended the paragraph on that note. I like that abrupt ending to say, here is my solid piece of evidence. It is factual, it's non debatable. This is where you can find this evidence that I'm saying. I like that idea of ending on that note.
All right, Ajaniah, take us to the end of it.
In conclusion, social media has a large positive impact on the youth. It increases the information available, it improves efficiency of students in their education, thus having a range of benefits that social media encompasses. It is important that we stop lambasting social media, but rather appreciate its positive impact. Yeah,
Why large? That sounds like a physical description,
yeah,
more of
yeah,
an
yeah. That's what I'm.
ideological description.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. but
Hmm.
I don't think that's too much of a problem. But you will tell me. Yeah. But
Significantly.
overall, I think it's okay.
Yeah. It's a good conclusion for sure. In conclusion, social media has I'd say a significantly positive impact on the youth. Because large sounds are just a little bit weird, right? It increases the information available, comma. I would eliminate it, and I would change this word to something else, like let's say fosters. Increases connectivity around the world. Oh, sorry. It increases the information available, fosters connectivity around the world. Oxford comma would be nice here, and improves the efficiency of students in their
Academic
education.
pursuits.
Yeah,
Academic pursuits.
let's do that. Academic pursuits. Thus, nice transition. Having witnessed the range of benefits um, that social media encompasses, it is important that we stop lambasting. What a word, man. Okay, you know what? I concede. I concede. That's an excellent word. Stop lambasting social media because it's a very strong word. It shows that we are being overly critical of something that is actually beneficial. Yeah. But rather appreciate its positive impacts. I love this conclusion. I love it. I can't really find much to criticize. The conclusion does what a good conclusion should do. It has the three elements of a conclusion. If you remember this morning's stream, then we know what those elements are. One, we restate our claim. Two, we restate the points mentioned. And three, we end with a call to action or a direct appeal to the reader, which is here. It is important we stop doing XYZ, right? It's good that you haven't been overusing personal pronouns, but here at the end, it has a very profound impact, and it makes it a little bit more pointed, to the reader. Any critiques on the conclusion here? The conclusion and the last body paragraph, I think, are really the star of this show. Ashley, do you uh, have you trademarked this word? What do you mean?
So 2 days ago, I used it with lambasting. So I know that's why it was in this essay.
So Ajaniah just going around stealing words. Ajaniah, defend yourself. You can't just steal Ashley's words like that.
No,
Why
no,
would
no.
you do that?
Ashley is totally wrong. Let me defend myself. I saw it on. I saw that word on a funny video, and then I
Mm.
researched the word, and then I found that the meaning of the word, and then I opted to use it in my essay. So
Who you got the funny
yeah,
video from? Okay.
Mm.
well,
You see,
I
this is what I have to
that's
deal
not
with
important.
every week in the classes. People arguing about who stole whose words. Oh my gosh.
That's so
Th-
trivial, though.
So trivial, isn't it? All right. I love the conclusion though. Jenna loves it too. Gia loves it too, which is, I mean, that says a lot for me. I respect Gia's opinion. What do we think in the chat? In the chat, do we like what the conclusion has done? How it has wrapped up the points discussed and the claim made?
I think the conclusion is really conclusive. It's very well done. It's a neat little package. There's nothing new there. Um, I am, however, wondering if the opinion is needed about we stop lambasting, because that's an opinion though,
Mm,
that persons are lambasting social media and not appreciating its positive impact. So, but apart from that, I am very comfortable with this conclusion. Apart from the little corrections that are there,
hmm.
yes,
Okay.
curiosity. Jamaicans would say it has shot, but as a teacher, I don't use those kind of colloquial speech, especially as a language teacher. I don't encourage it. I encourage standard English at all times in
Oh
my
yeah.
classes. But it has
All right.
shot.
It a
That's a
shot.
Jamaican thing.
It a shot
It's
for
sell
real.
off. It's sell
It,
off.
if it shot, it shot. Yeah, can't
And
go
it's sell
around.
off. It's sell off.
Yeah.
Can't go around it.
Yeah. 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 I think the ending here, this final impact, I find it suitable because in the beginning, they it was kind of stated that we are not recognizing how good social media is. We are only focusing on the negatives. So at the end, circling back to that and saying, look, let us refocus. Let us see social media through this new lens. I think it's an appropriate ending, at least based on how it was set up in the beginning. I see like a full circle, coming back around to that matter of perspective. Your introduction was good, but it could have been shorter. You could have been more concise with the intro, but I like the elements. Hook, stance, 3 points. Very nice. Your hook is excellent. Your vocabulary use throughout the whole essay is quite impressive. I don't think anybody could look at this essay and say that you don't know your words. You know words, right? Quite impressive vocabulary range. Yeah. So, any final thoughts before we move on to the next essay?
This essay was well written. It was great. Despite the few corrections, it was good.